On that side, we met scientists at UCSD. We were investing in startups here in San Diego. These scientists, literally rocket scientists, reached out to us. And this is what we did for NASA, helping detect anomalies in space weather to the tune of 99% accuracy. And we said, look, we're in San Diego. Healthcare is a competitive advantage. How can we use AI to detect anomalies, make a prediction, a recommendation, a forecast that's going to help impact people's lives? In the interest of time, we said, can you detect breast cancer better than existing computer-assisted detection technology? And they very confidently said, yeah, we can do that. My name is Navid Alipour. I'm a co-founder, CEO of AI Med Global, which is the umbrella company for CureMetrics and CureMatch.
This is Code Story, the podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries who share in the critical moments of what it takes to change an industry and build and lead a team that has your back. I'm your host, Noah Lampard, and today how Navid Alipour created not one but two medtech solutions to detect cancer and heart disease. All this and more on Code Story. Navid Alipour has spent many years in the world of medicine and AI, supporting and admiring doctors. He jokes that his wife and he are the black sheep of their family, because they aren't actual doctors. He's the co-founder and managing partner at Analytics Ventures, as well as serving on the board of multiple San Diego-based companies. Outside of his professional ventures, he enjoys watching movies with his wife and kids. Navid and his team explored the world of radiology from a technology and data standpoint. After applying the same thought process and/or algorithm for predicting space weather, they processed millions of mammogram images to detect cancer in their patients. And it worked really well. This is the creation story of AI Med Global.
AI Med Global comprises of the two separate Delaware C Corp companies that I started. First one being CureMetrics. So whether you go to the AIMedglobal.com site, it'll drive you to both websites, or you can go directly to curemetrics.com. On that side, we met scientists at UCSD, being based here in San Diego, and we were investing in startups here in San Diego. These scientists, literally rocket scientists that had done work for NASA, reached out to us. And this is what we did for NASA, helping detect anomalies in space weather to the tune of 99% accuracy. And so with that, we said, look, we're in San Diego. Healthcare is a competitive advantage. How can we use AI to detect anomalies, make a prediction, a recommendation, a forecast that's going to help impact people's lives and bring operational efficiencies? And in the interest of time, we said, can you detect breast cancer better than existing computer-assisted detection technology? And they very confidently said, yeah, we can do that. So we literally co-founded, my partner Blaise Barlet and I, we started CureMetrics, got the chair of radiology at the time at UCSD to join us as chief medical officer. Fast forward to 2019, we got the first of its kind FDA clearance. We're software only, but on the CureMetrics side, it's considered a diagnostic because we detect anomalies, i.e. cancer. We got the first of its kind FDA clearance for a product that detects cancer to the tune of 99% accuracy from a mammogram. So we started CureMetrics to detect breast cancer first, and through some cardiologists that had invested, we realized, hey, we can also detect and score the breast arterial calcification in the arteries, which is early onset to heart disease. Pending FDA clearance, which was hopefully close here, we can detect heart disease in women from the same mammogram. No extra radiation, no extra discomfort, and heart disease is called the silent killer amongst women, in that 65% die on that first heart attack completely asymptomatic, whereas us men tend to have chest pain, shortness of breath. You go to the doctor and do what's needed. That's on the CureMetrics side. And then very quickly, and I'll hit pause here, my business partner then got cancer. Because of that, we met a lady by the name of Dr. Roselle Kurzrock. What CureMatch does is for any cancer, not just women, not just breast cancer, any patient with cancer, we take their next generation sequencing panel, which is like the 23andMe of their specific cancer to the molecular level. So we take that input from the lab, from that they take the biopsy and they sequence the cancer. Our AI in our database that we're always creating will match and recommend the optimal combination therapies for that patient based on their specific NGS panel. And so if a doctor wants to recommend a 3-drug combination, there's literally 4.5 million combinations, or more than 4.5 million, so it's beyond human cognition. And so that's what CureMatch does. It's a decision support tool for doctors. It's not there to replace a doctor. It's there to empower them to take better care in helping fight cancer.
Tell me about the first version of the product. So that MVP version, how long did it take you to build, and what sort of tools did you use to bring it to life?
On the breast cancer side, to train the algorithms, of course, you need data, right? We are here in San Diego. Our initial set of mammograms we actually got from a hospital in Mexico, and then we use those initially to train the algorithms and get that minimal viable product in that first year that shows that, in fact, we can detect breast cancer better than existing CAD. They gave us mammograms going back 4 or 5 years even, and we detected not only all the cancers that they did without telling us, but we also detected the cancers earlier. So they may have detected a cancer, if we got these images in 2014, they detected cancer in a woman in 2012. We detected it in some, many cases earlier, and by up to 4 years earlier. And so that's where we said, hey, we got something here, because if you can detect breast cancer earlier, the odds of survival are incredibly higher, and the costs of the healthcare system are incredibly lower. And the beauty of what we built is we're 100% cloud-based. So we're on Amazon's cloud. And so we could, ramp up and ramp down as much as needed to process as many mammograms as possible. The benefit of using the cloud is just that, and that it reduces the cost for a startup out of the gate. Those early years were key to be able to show that we got something here, and these rocket scientists that are, frankly, much smarter than I am, but the machine learning expertise and acumen they have, married with the MDs on the team, the radiologists like Dr. Bill Bradley. And so to marry the two, the domain expertise and the AI expertise, was what allowed us to develop this technology.
So that's a great segue. So you've got the product, you prove that it works, right? You're proving that you're getting success by processing all of the mammograms and detecting bits of cancer that you didn't even know about. From that point, how did you progress the product? How did you decide to move forward? And I think to wrap that in a box a little bit, what I'm looking for is, how did you build your roadmap? How did you decide, okay, this is the next most important thing to build or to create or to address with AI Med Global?
At the end of the day, you're solving a pain point. Who's going to use it? Who's going to pay for it? Healthcare is a different animal. There's regulatory hurdles. There's reimbursement codes. So there's a lot of different areas to factor in. On the detection side, for detecting cancer and heart disease, of course, the user is going to be a radiologist. They're going to detect in their workflow the cancer, and if there's heart disease, then send that on to a cardiologist that takes it from there to do EKGs and stress tests and everything else. And we initially said, okay, well, this is healthcare IT in the traditional sense, so we have to build it, get the radiologist to help train it, because they're the ones that are going to be using it. And if they don't use it, then we got a problem, right? And so not only did the radiologists love what we built, but many of them asked if they could invest in the company. And I equate that to, if I had a software for dentists and we had no dentists as investors, you got a problem, right? Or if you have a software for restaurants and if you don't have anyone from that industry as an investor, you got a problem. And so we said, we got to build something that helps improve the workflow, helps detect cancers earlier and better. And then on the CureMatch side, Dr. Kurzrock was already a practicing oncologist. So she was a co-founder with us. So what she built it to address her own pain point. For Morris Cancer Center, she was in Houston at MD Anderson. And these big centers have, every Wednesday, they get together for what's called a tumor board. So they get together and review all the cases together of the patients and what to do for each one of them. She was looking around this room of oncologists at the top of their field, and they're getting on their phones and laptops, Googling different combinations and how they may work together. And that's where she's like, this is insane. It's impossible. It's, again, beyond human cognition to get the optimal combination when there's 4.5 million. We need to develop something that does this. And so the analogy I use that she likes is, it's like, we built Excel for oncologists, right? Excel didn't replace your CPA or my CPA. In fact, there's more CPAs, but they use it to be more efficient in their work. And so that's what CureMatch was built for, is for the oncologist to be able to as new drugs are FDA cleared, new research is done, different combinations that can work together with that, because every cancer is different. So no two lung cancer patients will have the exact same cancer at a molecular level. And so to truly deliver precision medicine, you have to base that treatment for that specific patient. And that's where the next generation sequencing biopsy, that's, again, like I say, it's like the 23andMe or the Ancestry.com of that specific cancer. That's all we need. We don't need to connect to Cerner or Epic, the electronic healthcare record systems. And all we need is that PDF. And then where our database and the curation team, the clinical team, is always curating, and the algorithm will then match and produce our report that then goes to the oncologist is one of the tools they can use at their disposal to ultimately determine what care to give to the patient.
This episode is sponsored by Vanta. You're a startup founder. Finding product market fit is probably your number one priority. But to land bigger customers, you also need security compliance. And obtaining your SOC 2 or ISO 27001 certification can open those big doors. But they take time and energy, pulling you away from building and shipping. And that's where Vanta comes in. Vanta is the all-in-one compliance solution helping startups like yours get audit ready and build a strong security foundation quickly and painlessly. How, you ask? Vanta automates the manual security tasks that slow you down, helping you streamline your audit. And the platform connects you with trusted VCSOs to build your program, auditors to get you through audits quickly, and a marketplace for essentials like pen testing. Join over 8,000 companies, including many Y Combinator and Techstars startups who trust Vanta. Simplify compliance and get $1,000 off at vanta.com/codestory. That's VANTA.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by Kinsta. Between juggling client meetings, managing your website, and keeping up with everyday tasks, who has the time to stress out about website security? Well, with Kinsta, the technical stuff is taken care of, so you can focus on what you do best. Kinsta provides managed hosting for WordPress, offering lightning-fast load times, top-tier security, and unmatched human-only customer support. Whether you're a business owner, web developer, or running a digital agency, Kinsta makes managing your website easy and efficient. Kinsta provides enterprise-grade security, being one of the few hosting providers for WordPress with SOC 2 and other certifications, guaranteeing the highest level of security for your website. Thanks to their unlimited free expert-led migrations, Kinsta ensures a smooth transition for you from other hosting providers. Customers have reported 200% faster load times post-migration to their platform. What I find cool about Kinsta is their fast and reliable customer service and premium features that are included at no extra cost. Ready to experience Kinsta's hosting for yourself? Get your first month free when you sign up at kinsta.com today. That's KINSTA.com. I got to ask, with all of the, Theranos stuff going on in med tech, and over the last few years, I think people have raised eyebrows to med tech, and everything you're telling me as an engineer feels just awesome and feels right. Have you faced any sort of backlash from other people's bad decisions and fraudulent activities?
We have not, in that sense, because we're not we're not a lab, right? We're not a medical device in the physical sense that's going to penetrate a human body, or we're not a pill that someone's going to ingest and may have a bad reaction. We're software, right? And we're there to help empower the doctor. AI is not going to replace the doctor, but the doctor using it will replace the doctor that is not. For better, for worse, and I say for better because it is healthcare, we do have regulatory bodies that look at what is being done. And so when you get an FDA clearance, that's a huge hurdle to get through. And they say, yes, in fact, this technology does what it says. And papers have been published. So we've had a ton of papers published on both sides. And so that helps. But you're always going to have bad actors in any field. And unfortunately, that does put a bad light in some cases. Within healthcare, you're going to have doctors that are tech savvy and they want to explore new technologies, and again, to marry the AI with the HI, the artificial intelligence with the human intelligence. And you're always going to have people that are resistant to change. We do come across those individuals sometimes, and that's where You just have to get enough folks that use the technology, their colleagues, to say, this actually does in fact work. And that's where ultimately, to my earlier statement, that it's not going to replace the doctor, but the doctor using AI will replace the doctor that is not, because they'll practice better care for their patients with these new technologies.
Okay, well, let's switch to team then, your team. How did you go about building your team? What did you look for in those people to indicate that they were the winning horses to join you?
Well, that's an easy question. I look for everyone to be smarter than I am. and if you're putting a team together, you don't want everyone to be the same. You need everyone to complement each other and bring different things to the table, right? And so, we identified Dr. Bill Bradley, who sadly passed away a couple of years ago from heart disease, but he was our first chief medical officer. And as a chair of radiology himself, we couldn't have had anyone better at the beginning of a company, right? We now have Dr. Lisa Watanabe as our chief medical officer on the Curemetrics side. She's a practicing radiologist. We have Dr. Kurzrock, of course, at CureMatch, a world-renowned oncologist, 900 plus publications. To be in the healthcare field, you have to have these MDs involved, of course, and the more esteemed they are, the more prominent they are, the better it is to develop these technologies. So first and foremost was have those partners, co-founders, team members out of the gate. After that, of course, then find the right caliber CTO. And in the healthcare world, we were fortunate to find someone who has a biology background and an engineering background, right? So and San Diego is a great place for that, as is Boston and, of course, Seattle and San Francisco and other places. Then, you empower those team members then to build their team, the engineers they want, the clinicians they want. Our chief science officer, Ali Perlina, was Craig Ventnor, the gentleman who the first human genome ever mapped was his. So she developed the oncology division at Human Longevity Inc. Before moving to a company called Viome and helping them automate and scale to the point they are before I was fortunate to get her to join us in 2020. And then, of course, good people follow good people. So we have people on our clinical curation team that were Human Longevity Inc. with her, then Viome, and now with us at CureMatch. And same goes for, as you move on to the business side. I'm not a marketing person. I want someone that's much better at me in marketing. Our sales team, our former Illumina executives, right? So we look for identifying individuals that are masters in their domain and also have the passion, frankly, in the healthcare sense that to be mission driven. Whether it's our intern or our salesperson or marketing or software developer or data scientist or bioinformatics expert, like if they don't have that passion that we're doing something that's going to make an impact on people's lives, then it's not the right company for them. And they're passionate about what we're building and the impact we can make on detecting cancer and heart disease earlier and then recommending the best combinations optimally to treat that patient as early as possible.
Okay, let's flip to scalability. You mentioned this a bit earlier when you were running the initial models and running it in the cloud, but I want to ask it in a specific way. Did you build this to scale efficiently from day one, or are you fighting this as you grow in any capacity?
From day one, we were on AWS, and that's a competitive advantage. A lot of the legacy companies, the larger companies that develop the hardware, and yes, they have the computer-assisted detection software, they don't have that flexibility. And so we could literally go into an entire country and say, give us your mammograms going back 5 years. We can process them all immediately. From the foundation of the company, we said, let's be scalable.
Okay, as you step out on the balcony and you look across all that you've built, what are you most proud of? And there's a lot here to be proud of.
There's a lot left to be done. Truly, not to overstate it, every day I get up with an urgency of how can I move things one day faster? The financing, the partnership front, the hiring the right team members, using the right consultants, getting FDA clearances. How can we do things one day faster? What I am proud of, and just to take a snapshot, and sometimes you don't in any field, not just healthcare, but you don't see the progress one day versus the other. But you look back, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, and to see how far you've come, on those snapshots, I take a moment to kind of appreciate that and then say, okay, we got to move on to the next milestone. But I'm really proud of our CPT code that the American Medical Association gave us. I mean, this is the first of its kind in history. be on the cutting edge and be helping get these technologies to market makes me really proud of the team. And again, coming from a family of doctors, I've always had the utmost respect for those in the medical profession. I guess the analogy I've used before is to say, okay, a pilot has a couple hundred lives in their hands on a flight. An air traffic controller in one 12-hour shift has thousands of lives in their hands. And so the way I look at it is I'm not the pilot, right? I'm not the doctor practicing medicine. I'm not the pilot flying the plane, but in a sense, I'm air traffic control, and that I can impact thousands of lives by the technologies we're building, tens of thousands, millions. And so that's what makes me proud, is at the end of the day that we're building something that's that has already, in fact, detected cancer and heart disease earlier and helped people live longer, with getting the best combination of drugs earlier. And so that makes me proud to be able to do something that's truly going to impact people's lives.
Let's flip the script a little bit. Tell me about a mistake you made and how you and your team responded to it.
Advice is always easier given than taken. There's a saying, hire slow, fire fast. And we've made a lot of great decisions and made one or two bad ones where, hired someone that we'd done a little bit more due diligence we wouldn't have hired. A hire I made against my own gut feeling that then ended up being the wrong hire, even in this remote environment, brought a toxic work culture in the interactions this person had. And so that's just immediately the first thing comes to mind when you ask a mistake. It's hire slow, fire fast. And in one or two cases, we hired too fast and fired too slow.
Well, what does the future look like for the products and for your team?
We look at cancer and heart disease with a global view. These two are the number 1 and 2 causes of mortality in the world, and they will be for a long time. Cancer and heart disease don't know borders or boundaries, neither do we. And so to truly make the biggest impact on as many lives as possible, we either need to raise a huge amount of capital to do it much faster ourselves. And as an investor also myself, I love it when the CEO says, the bulk of the use of funds will go for sales and marketing. And so that's where we're at, where the money we would raise would go for the sales and marketing efforts. We don't need to develop the product. It's go time, right? We've gotten the CPT codes. We have the technology. It's time to put our foot on the gas. So it's either we're going to do that ourselves for a bit longer here, or if there's a partner, a much larger company that's been around, whether public or private, that has the distribution, that has the deeper pockets to do this faster, that's going to impact more lives faster. Than that's the decision we need to make. And so we're in real time, having those conversations of, is it the right time to, explore, handing the baton over to a larger company that would, roll us up and get these technologies to more people faster? Or is it, we're going to increase our resources to, build it and do it ourselves for longer? And what's the best path? And for me, it's do the right thing and the money will follow. But it's, what path will impact the most lives the fastest? And that's the real-time question that myself, the team, the board is trying to answer.
Okay, let's switch to you. Who influences the way that you work? Name someone or many persons or something you look up to and why.
I could answer that in a couple of different ways. I could say that I do that for my family, right? My wife, my kids. My youngest son is autistic, high functioning, but autistic. Is he ever going to be a independent adult that can take care of himself? I don't know, but I always have that in the back of my mind. Of course, I do this for my family and to leave them in a situation where if I'm no longer here, they're okay. And so I have that at a very personal level. And it's also, my father is a cardiologist. I've always admired greatly, how passionate and proud he was of the work that he did to help patients. And, he's retired now, but, seeing him build his practice and be truly passionate about the practice of medicine and innovations, that's been etched in my DNA, right? And so, I could say I look at, my father in that regard, and like a lot of people, an admirer of people in the public eye that are doing amazing things. There's always controversy around them, like, Mr. Musk. People love him or hate him, but, you can't take away the incredible technologies he's developed that you see driving around every day, right? And I don't own a Tesla, by the way. This is not an endorsement in any way. I don't own one. I don't own their stock. But it's people like that are I look at them and everyone's imperfect and has their flaws, but I admire those that go against the grain, and but for them, this technology would not exist. And I think that's just a fascinating trait of human ingenuity.
Okay, last question. So you're getting on a plane and you're sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. They're jazzed about it. They can't wait to show it off to the world. Can't wait to show it off to you right there on the plane. What advice do you give that person, having gone down this road a bit?
I would say it's all about the team and your board and your advisors, and to not be afraid to ask for help. Don't let pride get in the way. Bring people on board your train that are going to drive it in the right direction. And so many times ego and personality traits get in the way of great technologies, especially in healthcare. You have a lot of great technology that, let's say, a doctor developed, but they have so much ego and pride of, letting go of the reins and replacing themselves, or, losing some control, that those technologies never make it to market. So get incredible people on the bus, on the train, on the plane, and it'll get you to the right place faster.
That's fantastic advice. Well, Navid, thank you for being on the show today. Thank you for telling the creation story of AI Med Global and the products that are underneath CureMatch and CureMetrics.
Thank you so much for giving us the time, and I hope your listeners enjoy this podcast.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story. Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.
"89% of business leaders say AI is a top priority. The right choice is crucial, which is why teams at 1/3 of Fortune 500 companies use Grammarly. Grammarly is the right AI assistant for your team. With top-tier security credentials and 15 years of experience in responsible AI, Grammarly is how companies like yours increase productivity while keeping data protected and private. See why 70,000 teams trust Grammarly at Grammarly.com/enterprise.